Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a quick review of the Bachmann Spectrum HO Baltimore and Ohio EM1. This model was made a while back, but I got one recently and have some critiques that I'd like to actually share. So without further ado, let's get started. Overall, the engine looks rather impressive. The paint has a smooth and even finish. I especially like the slightly lighter shade of black paint on the smoke box, which is a nice subtle touch. The lettering is also done well, with the number plate and builder's plate being very crisp and clear. Although not noticeable when on the track, the engine feels oddly cheap when held in the hand. The shell is all plastic, and the engine is rather light for its size. Both trucks are articulated and sort of just shake around loosely when handled. The lightweight and shaky parts sort of gives the impression that this is a cheap model. Although the prototype EM1s were fairly bare bones in terms of appearance, the quality of the detail that is there on the Bachmann EM1 is lacking and crude. Notably, the dynamo looks hilariously bad, as does the molded-on piping near the firebox. Additionally, while the safety valves are brass, the whistle is noticeably only plastic that's painted gold. The cab detail is also sparse, with the backhead being a one-piece mold that's painted all black. The tender doesn't fare much better. The water hatch looks like something you'd see on a Tyco model. It is a crudely molded-on piece that lacks any sort of depth. The rear also has a whole lot of molded-on grabs, which is disappointing, especially at this price point. That all being said, there are a few areas Bachmann did well on this model. Some of the more fragile handrails are made in a flexible, slippery plastic to avoid damage when being bent. The running boards also have treads, which is a nice touch. I also like how the front steam delivery pipe swings with the model. The tender underframe is spruced up nicely, and the front end does look rather impressive. Looking toward the bottom of the model, we see the 16 black metal drivers, an assortment of blackened drive rods. The mechanism is sufficient. It is your standard Bachmann design. However, unlike other models, Bachmann actually did include bearings on this engine, which is a nice little surprise. This engine is driven by a large 5-pole can motor and dual flywheels, and runs pretty well. Unfortunately, I do not know too much about the prototypes of these engines, so I cannot comment on its accuracy. However, it is useful to note that Bachmann made two versions of the EM1, an early and late version. To my understanding, the only difference between these two models is the different front sand domes Bachmann used. Unlike most other Bachmann engines, this model came in DCC only, or DCC sound installed from the factory. It utilizes a unique and custom chip which Tsunami made only for Bachmann, which consisted of a DCC decoder and a separate non-NMRA compliant 21-pin sound-only chip. While novel in concept, this chip design ultimately wasn't widely adopted. So these days, the sound chips are very hard to find, meaning if you buy one of these without sound, you're pretty much stuck with a soundless EM1, unless if you remove all the electronics and do a fresh install. Alright, I have the engine on some rollers here. Unfortunately, because I'm not at home, I only have a little bit of easy track and some rollers to run this thing on, but it should still give you an idea of how this thing runs. So, my engine is DCC, not DCC in sound. As I said, this engine came in DCC or DCC in sound, and we'll just get her started. This is speed step 5. As you can see, it's a very smooth start and good slow speed control. We could bring her up. I'm going to bring her to about speed step 25 out of 128. And yeah, it's a very smooth runner, very quiet. It's a little bit noisier than it usually is because the easy track doesn't really silence the noise, but on an actual layout, this thing would run very smooth and quietly. This is speed step 60. And we'll bring her back down. So yeah, very smooth runner. And then also, I'll quickly show you how the headlight looks. You can see it's a nice orangish glow. Very good looking headlight. So yeah, that's how she looks. All in all, my thoughts on this model are mixed. On one hand, Bachmann has finally brought a highly anticipated one-of-a-kind model to the HO ready-to-run market with a high-quality mechanism that's built to last. On the other hand, though, the detail is underwhelming, and the lightweight construction feels plasticky and cheap. Certain things like that plastic whistle and the water hatch on the tender I just find completely unacceptable, especially on a model that sells for $400. I think my final opinion on this model is that it's not amazing, but it's not awful either. If you really want an EM1 or you're a B&O modeler, or you don't really care about detail, this model is perfectly acceptable. But for the rest of us, I think I would rather just save my $400 on this thing. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this engine here. I hope this little review and or just showcase of detail and stuff was useful for you guys. Please let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Did I forget anything? Were my points fair? I'd love to know. But yeah, so on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.